You guys know I like to do Germany content since I'm a Deutscher. Okay, 1-1. Why Germany is rebooting its economy. Okay, first of all, it's a weird question. I mean, I feel like a country wants to always have a good economy. It's like a natural thing. And then I wonder, like, sometimes I wonder, what exactly is the new government actually doing to fix the economy? Like, what exactly? Let's take a look. Last video, and then Wiki Free.
He takes its foot off the debt brake as the Bundestag agrees on a fiscal bazooka of infrastructure and defence spending.
Germany is doing what would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. It's stepping away from the strict rules it once wrote for Europe.
Important though, I think the thing with debt breaks is they're actually kind of good, I think. On the short term, they hurt. You lose investments, you don't grow. If you take debt, it works. But everyone in this chat that can count to 10 knows that debt one day comes around. And there are certain people talk about how in 2050, 2060, Germany is going to pay the price for this. We're going to have pretty crazy debt and the interest rate will be very heavy. I just want to always raise the sentiment, hey man, it's nice that we don't have a debt break anymore. Germany's going to grow again. But you should always think about there's also a negative aspect with that.
Within weeks of being elected, Germany's new coalition government, headed by the conservative CDU under Chancellor Friedrich Merz, announced a historic fiscal package. It promised to loosen spending rules.
They really was very restrictive on what governments could do to support the economy.
And modernise a sluggish economy.
This country needs an economic turnaround.
This shift didn't come from nowhere. It was the product of years, even decades of unresolved economic strain, from industrial slowdown to energy cuts, rising global competition, and politicians often too cautious to act.
There were no reforms under all this.
You don't understand balanced sector economics if you worry about the debt in Germany, USA. I trust people that have a bit more in their head than you, and I was reading stuff like that future generations will have to pay for these interest rates. They will be a bigger part of the overall budget of the country.
16 years with Angela Merkel, and in the end, we are actually witnessing the result.
We just saw today on stream that 11% of the yearly budget of the US goes into interest. If you think that's cool and fine and not a problem at all,
Of that period now.
Germany's last government, led by Olaf Scholz, had also prioritised these reforms, but struggled with getting them over the line.
And now we have to start tackling our structural crises that accumulated in the past.
I think it goes much farther than even having to adapt only. I think we have to reboot. We will need a new model because a lot of things have changed.
So why now? Why is Germany taking this risk, and how could it impact the country?
What happens if a country refuses to pay debt? That's a great question. I have no idea how that works. Who are you even indebted to? And what if you stop paying? What happens if you stop paying? I don't know what happens. I have no idea what happens. I have no idea. Okay, TommyKay news. Here we go. To whom does the USA owe their debt to? Okay, let's do very simple, very simple. It's probably many different entities. Intra-government holdings. This is money the federal government owes to itself. Okay, this is blowing my brain a bit. Social Security, Medicare, and federal employees' retirement. Okay. There's also public debt, most of it. More to Japan than China, guys. They beat Japan in the World War, can't they just... The Federal Reserve holds a significant portion of US debt by buying treasury securities as part of monetary policy. The US citizens and institutions, banks, insurance companies, pension funds, mutual funds, and individual investors. As of recent years, the largest holders of US debt are China, the UK, and Japan. I never understand this stuff. If you have debt, like the UK has debt, can't you just say, give me back my 700... I'm probably too dumb for this. I'm probably too dumb for this shit. I feel like I'm too dumb for this. Why do they lend? Because it's low risk. And the US dollar is OP as fuck.
Why is the US in $34 trillion debt? And who are they possibly in debt to? When the government spends more money than they actually make, they enter a deficit and have to borrow money to cover their spending, which is why they issue treasury bills and bonds. These securities can be bought by anyone and have their safety as an investment backed by the strength and stability of the United States. So over 30% of the debt is owed to US investors, and another 25% is owed to other branches of the US government. Foreign investors and governments make up the smaller remaining portions. Why is the US in 34
Okay, there was a guy once in Discord telling me that this is actually good. These treasury bonds are a great investment. Now, what would happen if a budget of the US couldn't cover the interest rate anymore and they default on their debt. Like, I have no fucking idea. If the US couldn't cover interest payments, I think this will never happen though, on its debt, and it will default, it will trigger a global financial crisis. It will kind of kill capitalism, huh? The US Treasury bonds are considered the safest assets on earth. A guy told me that once. It's the most easy investment. Doesn't make much money, but it's safe. A default would shock the financial markets like banks, pension funds, and central banks. Investors would flee from risk, triggering a sell-off of US assets. Borrowing costs for the US government will rise sharply. Same for businesses and consumers. Everyone's interest rate will go insane. Credit agencies like Moody's S&P, which are corrupt as fuck, will downgrade the US credit rating. That happened in 2011, when the US actually almost defaulted. I never heard of that. In 2011, they almost defaulted? I never heard of that. The US dollar is the global reserve currency. A default could erode that trust. Other countries might diversify away from dollars and other stuff. The dollar could lose its privileged status. The government will shut down agency, military, etc. Jobs will be lost. Pension funds and banks will get fucked. Confidence will collapse. It's really unlikely though. The US can technically print dollars to pay interest. It's so clever. You just print money. The US has the ability to raise revenue. Historically, Congress raises the ceiling to avoid default. And despite high debt, the US remains one of the most trusted borrowers. So it's kind of really super ultra unlikely that something like that will ever happen.
Future.
But it feels like though you have to always be careful not to get too much mega debt. Like you can't just fucking borrow 1 gazillion. They almost defaulted in 2011. They almost did default, but they just raised the ceiling.
To understand that, we need to go back to the 2008 financial crisis.
Which only one guy, one medium manager went to prison for. I want you to fucking understand that, chat, as you become a socialist on this channel. 2008, these cunts gambled with everyone's money, and they fucking lost it, and none of them went to prison. They got bailed out by you, the fucking taxpayer. You fucking bailed them out. Insanity, 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 utter insanity. Utter insanity. Occupy Wall Street, man. Burn it all down.
This stretches back to this point in history when the global financial system nearly collapsed. While the crisis began with the US mortgage market, the effects were far-reaching. Europe was hit hard and Germany's economy was feeling the impact. Annette Weisbach has covered Germany for CNBC for more than 15 years.
Not a lot of people remember is that Germany was one of the worst affected from the banking crisis because a lot of these German state-backed institutions did have a lot of exposure to subprime in the States because they wanted to like shore up.
That's not true. You can't go to Wall Street anymore? It's locked down. I don't believe you. You can't access Wall Street without demanding permission.
Their profitability. And of course, with the crash of the subprime market, they crashed as well.
Yeah, which they crashed deliberately. They knew what they were doing, these cunts.
The crisis knocked Germany's confidence. Despite being home to some of the most influential companies in the world, Volkswagen, Siemens, Adidas and SAP to name just a few, this was a warning that even Europe's largest economy wasn't immune to the issues lying beyond its borders. In response, German policymakers implemented a new fiscal rule known as Schuldenbremse, or the debt brake. Franziska Palmas is a senior economist focused on Germany.
The debt brake is Germany's national fiscal rule. Its main aim is to prevent the government from taking on too much debt. It was introduced.
Since 9/11, access to Wall Street has been restricted for security reasons, but this doesn't necessarily indicate shady activities. The restrictions are primarily about safety and preventing potential threats. I can't understand that though, because you would think someone is gonna try to bomb Wall Street.
Just after the global financial crisis, because actually before then, Germany had been running fairly large budget deficits and its debt ratio was increasing. It was really felt in Germany that there needed to be some form of rules that basically prevented governments from continuing to run fairly large deficits and cause the debt ratio to keep rising.
The rule put a strict limit on how much the federal government could borrow, even when business was booming, stating that the budgets of the federation and the lender shall in principle be balanced without revenue from credits. And for a while, this discipline seemed to pay off. Germany weathered the Eurozone crisis in the early 2010s, building its reputation as Europe's economic rock. In 2014, the country's finance minister proudly presented a balanced budget for the first time in 45 years. But underneath, cracks were beginning to show. In December 2021, Angela Merkel stepped down after 16 years in office. At the time, her tenure was widely celebrated. She was credited with growing Germany's influence and successfully leading the nation through several global crises with her pragmatic approach. But critics say Merkel's era left key reforms on hold.
Yeah.
She was succeeded by a three-party coalition led by Olaf Scholz and the centre-left Social Democrats, a government that promised fresh ideas and renewal.
They fucked up, man. Boy, did they fuck up. But I think it was mostly them corrupting everyone. They tried to fuck everyone in the ass.
The debt brake, which had been paused in 2020 to allow the country to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, was set to come back into force in 2023. But the crises continued to pile up. The war in Ukraine, energy shocks and inflation all added to the growing list of upheavals expanding the need for public spending. In 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the government secured an amendment to establish a €100 billion defence fund that would be exempt from the borrowing restrictions. But the three coalition parties...
It's hilarious. Tommy is still a prisoner of Luther and Brunning. Please elaborate on that. I'm going to write you down. I'm not letting you go. Please elaborate. What are you saying? Sounds a bit autistic. Please explain that.
All with significant ideological differences were struggling to find unity. By 2023, Germany's growth had stalled, with its gross domestic product shrinking by over 0.25%. Its GDP then declined again the next year. This was the country's first full-year decline.
Thank you, Dean, man. We're so close to 3K. So close to be healthy again. My man, call me Dean. Call, man. Call me Dean. How you doing, man? If you want feed pictures, text me Discord. I will give you feed pictures. Thank you, buddy, man. Thank you for saving this dumbass channel.
2020. It was the only G7 major economy to record negative growth after 20.
But I want to know why. I want more. I want to understand why is that so. What exactly?
Highlighting the depth of the challenges it faces and the urgency for change.
Germany's economy is no longer attractive to invest because of red tape, because of too high energy prices.
Okay, that makes sense.
Companies rather prefer to invest somewhere else.
Yes, Colin, if you send me 5 gifted, I will send you feed pictures. I'm not even kidding.
Germany is struggling with higher energy prices than, for example, in some other countries, higher wages, some labor shortages as a result of the shrinking working age population.
Okay, Colin, text me Discord. I will send you my feed. I will do it.
So those are all factors that in some sense weigh on the prospect for Germany as a place to invest.
As for Olaf Scholz, it was ultimately the debt brake that would be the...
Been watching you since I was 13, finally got a job where I have a disposable income, so might as well get back. Thank you, buddy, man. If everyone was like you, I'd be a millionaire already. Unfortunately, most of these people are fucking losers, man. Thank you, Dean. Because you ain't a loser, buddy. Thank you, buddy. TommyKayVODs, the best bonds.
Finance Minister Christian Lindner, who led the
that guy was a fucking rat, man.
Refused to loosen spending limits, and so Scholz eventually fired him, saying that he had betrayed his confidence. In late 2024, Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition government collapsed.
Germany's three-party coalition has collapsed.
Chancellor Olaf Scholz has lost a vote of confidence in Parliament.
Polls in Germany have opened for voters to decide which party will run their next government.
In February 2025, a snap federal election was held. The election resulted in a significant shift
150 to AFD,
in the political landscape,
man.
with the conservative CDU-CSU securing victory and the far-right AfD emerging as the second largest party.
Germany's conservative CDU party looks set to win the country's election, with the AfD far-right party in second place.
After years of stagnation and facing pressure from both business and the public,
fucking disgrace.
The government voted to amend the debt brake and rolled out one of the biggest waves of public spending in decades. At the heart of it is a €500 billion...
That's Cologne, right? Yeah. Is that Cologne? I could swear that's not Cologne. That is Cologne, though. That is Cologne.
Infrastructure and investment fund.
Yeah.
It's aimed at modernising railways, expanding digital infrastructure, upgrading energy systems, and accelerating the green transition. Defence spending is also getting another boost, with new exceptions carved out of the debt brake to meet NATO targets.
I think what...
Oh, here we go. He's responding. The whole reason that Germans fight in economics with one hand, what? Is because they don't get the 1930s history right. What? Luther and Brüning made a massive deflationary austerity that made millions of unemployed and broke the economy, but people still think that reason is debt or inflation that brings... Who gives a fuck about the 1930s? What are you fucking talking about? How does that have any influence to what we're looking at right now? What are you talking about? What the fuck? Are you okay, man? What? His message suggests that Germany struggles with economic issues because they misunderstood their history from the 30s. Specifically, it argues that past policies led to deflation and unemployment, yet many still... What?
What is very important is having capabilities to spend for defense. That's a prerequisite for a growing economy to have security in Europe, not only in Germany.
What you don't get is, Tommy, that around 8000 BC, the people don't understand what really happened there.
Help to get Germany out of the stagnation that it's been in the past 6 years or so. But I think the boost to the economy
She
will
looks
be quite
like Tommy.
transitory.
What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with anyone?
Be focused on the next 2 years or so. After that, I think Germany is quite likely to return to fairly low rates of growth.
Germany isn't just fighting inflation or stagnation. It's wrestling with
That explains
something
why I have a
deeper,
boner. I'm gonna ignore
an
you now,
identity
chat.
crisis. The model that once made it rich based on exports, manufacturing, and fiscal discipline is now being tested by a world that no longer plays by the same rules.
There is this culture in Germany of, being very fiscally conservative and afraid of too much public debt.
That mindset went hand in hand with a relentless focus on industrial excellence. Manufacturing became not just the backbone of the economy, but a source of national pride. Ann-Christine Aschleitner is a German economist and has sat on over a dozen corporate and non-profit boards in the country.
Ironically, this whole label made in Germany was meant as a negative label. And so
What is wrong with chat right now? It's like a flood door opened. Can you change the sub goal? I don't want to contribute to Sims with Lisa. What is wrong with you? Have you been to every city in Germany? I want to play World of Warcraft and purge all the retards.
You worked, to get this to this reputation, and I hope we keep it in the future.
Manufacturing has always...
I can give you research papers. The fear of debt is based in history. But the entire conversation, dude, who starts like this? You said it's hilarious after 8 years Tommy is still a prisoner of Luther and Brüning. You think because something happening in 1930s, I'm scared of debt? Never even have I said I'm scared of that. I just said the whole time, we gotta be careful of that shit. Like, what? Are you fucking okay, bro? What is wrong with you? Holy moly, who is like that? What the fuck? Did you just, what is that?
Always been at the heart of the German economic model.
Don't do that.
We all know the German car industry has been doing very well, but also machinery goods, all kind of equipment, windmills, etc., just to name a few, but also the pharma sector.
Whole nation is scared? Yeah, but you might be right, but how does that have any impact of 2025? Maybe you're right, but the world is much more complex than that right now.
Is one of the biggest exporter in the world.
Like, who cares?
That model worked when global demand was booming. But today, China is making its own machines, the US is pulling back.
That's the thing, we don't export much anymore.
And in Europe, consumers are holding back, making life more difficult for Germany's exports.
The reason why the car sector is struggling is that demand for cars in Europe is shrinking because the population is shrinking and incomes are rising very slowly.
In what way is the world more complex today? That's bullshit. Okay, now we're done here. Okay, now we reached the point where, okay, we're going full retard mode now. In what way is the world more complex in 2025 than 1930? I think we're stopping now. Let's watch the video and then play video games to not go over your head.
Cars last longer, so we change them less often.
It has to be rage bait. It's not rage bait. These people are generally that fucking dumb.
China is now producing cars itself, and it's producing also machinery and equipment itself. One thing that one could have imagined happening is Chinese EVs producers, for example, that want to enter the European market, setting up facilities in Germany. What we're seeing, however, for example, is big investments from Chinese auto companies, for example, in Hungary, where obviously energy prices and also wages especially are lower. And we are seeing, for example, a bit of an EV hotspot emerging there.
You're just not smart enough to understand. Buddy, you just said 1930 is not at all less complex than 2025. Ever heard of globalization? You're completely fucking... And I didn't want to ban you. I didn't want to do it. I want to be nice. But now you keep coming like as of... Dude, you have seriously something to fix, man. Jesus fucking Christ. What is going on with you? Damn, buddy. Damn. It's me, Colin. Send me your feet. I will do it when I'm peeing on my... And I put it on my phone.
Facilities, but also battery facilities.
With the change of China no longer just being a country where you export your goods to, but China rose to be a competitor. Chinese car makers are the true threat to the German car industry. Chinese R&D is much faster than R&D here. Just talk about artificial intelligence.
Research and development.
We have to see that we keep as much of export as is possible, but at the same time, it's obvious the world is changing and we have to reboot.
Germany's new economy minister, Katharina Reiche, told CNBC that adjusting regulations will be key to boosting Germany's competitiveness.
A smart regulation can shape market and can help economy. A regulation which is so tight, so precise on a micromanagement level that hinders companies to invest, that hinders startup to...
You might find the author David Graeber very interesting, anthropologist who helped lead Occupy Wall Street. He wrote a book on debt which discusses a lot of the primitive communism you were praising earlier. What primitive communism did I praise? What is going on? Please write in chat what primitive communism I'm praising. What?
Grow their businesses.
Other countries in Europe either went through this process in the past, like Italy.
Is she hot or not? I waited for that. Sorry, I'm betting you. No hate. I don't hate you, man. Nothing personal. But I always think if a woman is in work character and is trying to say educational stuff, we shouldn't sexualize her. It's kind of fucking weird. Like people raising kids together and stuff. It's like, you fucking maniac! What is wrong with you people? The streamer says it's kind of nice when communities raise kids together, which is a common thing in the human race since industrialization. Like for the last 200 years that stopped. Every mammal does it. The human culture did it for thousands of years. But that's primitive communism? What is wrong with people? Holy shit! Fuck! I'm a primitive communist because I feel like it's good if like communities raise kids together. It's kind of a nice thing. Holy shit, you guys are fucked up. Dude, this is not rage bait, you dumb retard. You guys always try to hide everything behind rage bait. I said something stupid. Sorry, teachers. It's not rage bait. These people are real. Have you ever been on the internet before? What is wrong with you people? Alter Schwede, this is insanity. Wow.
For example, the car industry is now very small.
But you wear a red shirt? Okay, you win there.
They went through this process of, shrinking
Holy
the industrial sector already
How are you real?
in the past.
How do you
And
exist?
Germany also, had a much larger industrial sector.
Yo, Tommy, read this book that talks about the primitive communism you praised earlier, of where like humans should work together on raising their kids on like a village and stuff. Are you fucking mental? Thank you, sexy grandpa, man. Sexy grandpa, if you want my... you're missing one sub for feet. Sorry, man. You're missing one.
Germany is also grappling with major external pressures.
Focus on the video. Thank you, sexy grandpa, man.
The ongoing energy crisis and tense trade relations with the United States. Arne Franz is the CEO of one of Germany's biggest auto parts manufacturers.
Germany's economy and Europe's economy are very much built on free trade and on really strong exports. And we
Today in the Bundestag, the AfD asked the Federal Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs which first names are most common among recipients of the Sins allowance. It's Michael, Andreas, and Thomas. Is that a good thing? Because it's not foreign names.
and services that the German and the European industry can offer to the world is so important for global wealth. So we continue to fight for free trade.
He was disapproving
in the meantime, what the Trump administration has
same with the guy that talks about 1930 economics in Germany. Probably watched the video and now wants to share his knowledge. Yeah, but that doesn't make it right, Marconi. I will always sit here and call these people out for being fucking weird. Who talks like that? Who fucking talks like that? Tommy, you just don't understand what happened in the 1930s, man. Like, even if you might have a point, and might be right, it's still fucking awkward to talk like that.
Implemented is a huge stress on our supply chain because as automotive suppliers can simply not afford to not pass on these additional costs to their customers.
Thank you,
and therefore, in the end, it will be the U.S. consumers who will pay the price, who will pay higher bills for autos and other products.
When Russia cut off gas supplies following its invasion of Ukraine, it hit Germany especially hard. This chart shows just how reliant Germany was on Russian energy compared to its European counterparts, and energy prices soared as a result.
Thank you, UG. Thank you.
That's been particularly tough for energy-intensive sectors like chemicals, automotive, and steel.
We had a very big focus on environmental priorities before the start of the war in the Ukraine. Ever since the war started, the whole topic of environmental investments has actually taken a backseat.
Ukraine.
Nothing has happened when it comes.
They gotta not vaccine themselves anymore. This is why they gotta wait it.
The hydrogen grid, for example, but that's a crucial element as well for the energy-intensive industry because they cannot just rely on electricity. They need hydrogen.
Despite these setbacks, Germany has made strides in renewable energy, laying the groundwork for long-term transformation. Robert Herrmann is the CEO for Germany Trade and Invest.
German energy generation through renewable resources, especially for electricity generation, is about 60% from renewables. That offers a lot of opportunities for companies.
Yeah, isn't that a great thing? I always felt like, I mean, I'm yapping, okay? But if it seems almost natural that the German export of cars is stagnating. China is keeping up. Nobody wants to buy our cars anymore. They make their own. Makes sense. It happens. So you got to fucking do something about this. And I always felt, I even read an article about this, but I don't remember a shit about it, that Germany is a country that needs to export stuff. And if we can't export cars anymore, why not export green energy technology, stuff like that? We need to find something
focus on
to be attractive in some kind of sector.
Products and renewable industry sectors for sustainable future developments of their technologies that they can find in Germany. And we can speak about that and give the opportunities here.
The war in Ukraine also prompted Germany to rethink its approach to defence. In addition to increased military spending, it's also modernising its defence industry.
Whoa, look at that, Alter. Holy
decades,
shit.
Germany's industrial policy was focused on peacetime manufacturing, but that's shifting.
So I believe that we can use the power of Germans.
China exports the most green energy technologies now. Even they have the most solar panels. Wow. It's actually like a good news for the human race that China is doing so well with green energy. They really give a shit, huh? China's flooding the market with that stuff?
Germany's manufacturing sector in general and the automotive industry and us automotive supplier.
Yeah, in Germany, all military cars have a registration plate that starts with Y.
Also to support bringing back the European armies and the German armies back to standards to really play their role in having a very strong and self-sufficient defense system for Europe.
With all of these challenges, it can be difficult to secure the investment needed for German
Y is the most uncommon letter, so nobody else would use it.
Businesses to thrive. Deutsche Börse AG operates several major financial markets in Germany, including the Frankfurt Stock Exchange and electronic trading platform Xetra. Stefan Leitner is its CEO.
Today we are too dependent on international capital flows, and therefore there's not enough baseline interest. There's not enough baseline investment. Institutional investors are often constrained from investing into German, European, but also international stocks. They're overinvested in cash deposits. German companies have always been very good in adapting. The agility that comes from the German Mittelstand connotation is a very powerful and positive development. At the end of the day, there's only a strength in that and not a weakness. Now, the point about the investment amounts that happen in Germany versus internationally, some of that is obviously a result of the fracturing of the geopolitical value chains that is going on.
But even as Germany grapples with these global headwinds and competition, Some of the biggest obstacles remain at home, like slow progress on digitalization and cutting through red tape.
The new government has created a digitalization ministry, which didn't exist before. So clearly they're aware that that's an area of where intervention is needed as well. However, it's much more difficult to say how much progress they will make there in practice. It's not that easy, especially if you have all these established systems, to really change them overnight. Many governments in the past have said that they would cut bureaucracy and increase digitalization, and then very little happened in that area.
Man. You gotta get a go from my friend.
Bureaucracy seems easy said like this, but then you...
This is my topic, Energiewende and finance sector balances and economic history. That's your topic.
Need to actually, change a lot of processes within the public sector and implement new ones and, implement all of this.
Looking ahead, the new Chancellor Friedrich Merz faces a challenging economic landscape. Despite a somewhat bumpy start, he and his government are tasked with navigating a deeply uncertain future for Germany's economy.
It was the first time in German history that a chancellor wasn't elected in the first round, and it came completely out of the blue. No one was expecting there to be any problems. That said,
I want to defend him for a sec. I think in the beginning they fucked him really hard. Everybody wanted him to fuck up. All the comedians were shitting on him. Everyone was shitting on him. Which kind of is good for him, because they made his level very low, so now he can only rise.
I think it's encouraging that he managed to sort the situation pretty quickly. He got elected in the second round after a few hours. So it could be that that was just a blip and that things will indeed continue more smoothly from here. I think because
I believe we reached a point in Germany and the whole world, whoever wins the election in Germany, they all will get trolled. There will not be a single fucking candidate winning the German election that's going to get respect and everybody is applauding. It's never going to happen.
Because for now, we can be fairly confident that the government will still be able, for example, to implement the big fiscal stimulus, increasing infrastructure and defense spending that they are planning.
In 2025, Germany's economy is expected to stagnate, with the International Monetary Fund projecting...
I'm going to say something else. I'm going to really trigger the economic experts now.
Governments are too slow to digitalize and improve technologically due to grave dodgers hating change and progress.
Thank you, Jet Koala. Now I'm going to say something that will make Chet go insane. So I'm just yapping a bit. We're just yapping a bit. I think Germany not growing GDP is the most futuristic and progressive thing ever. Why? So I'm reading this book. There's this book I've been reading for years now called The End of Capitalism. It's like the scientific thing, what will happen to capitalism one day with global warming and stuff. Blah, 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 blah. I read that book for years now. I always read one chapter and do it again. Blah, blah, blah. The book suggests, or the idea is, how can capitalism and countries grow every year if the resources on Earth are finite? In order to save this planet and reach the next level in this race, we have to understand that 0% growth at some point is okay. And not something that's going to kill all of us in the long term. So I think Germany, ultra progressive.
That the economy will
ultra
shrink.
Progressive.
Still, many are hopeful
it's really good
that the
if GDP doesn't grow.
Can spark new avenues for growth, with IMF projections showing GDP growth moving into the positive again from 2026.
I think one thing that is perhaps interesting to watch in that sense will be the budget negotiations. Obviously, the budget
so
was
Italy
a big
is really
area
ahead.
of conflict within the previous traffic light coalition. So, for example, if Friedrich Merz manages to have a smooth process in terms of the budget, that would be a very good sign going forward.
So we have to reduce the energy prices by, for instance, investing in gas power plants to stabilize the security of supply. We will
Alter, you live right next to that? Oh shit, bro. You don't have to smoke on the balcony anymore. You just fucking... And you're... Oh, damn, that sucks, man.
This energy taxes on the energy price to lower the burden.
You, bro.
Next year,
dude, that's why you grew up. But without the fucking... Damn, that's bad. Where is this, Germans? Oh, it's Berlin. It's in the middle of Berlin. That's right in the middle of Berlin. They have these things in the middle of Berlin? Damn. Ugh.
Next year, it will be better.
Fuck Berlin,
thanks in part to this big increase in defense and infrastructure spending that is coming. But
it's
yes,
gas, not
what
coal.
we are unlikely to see is a return to those almost 2% growth rate that Germany had before the pandemic.
I hate Berlin.
The big
I hate
problem
Berlin to death.
that Germany has is that its population is aging. So, you know, the share of the population that is in over 60s is going to increase a lot. And the population of so-called working age between 15 and 64, it's going to shrink. And it is going to shrink actually quite rapidly. So if we look at the population projections of the European Commission, it shows that in the rest of this decade, the German working age population is going to shrink, depending on the year, by between 0.3 and 0.8% in the worst years.
Bad.
So that's big. And that obviously means you're...
And I don't know how other Germans in chat feel, but I don't feel like they do much about this. Obviously, you need immigrants to fix this. That's just a fact. You need immigrants. And honestly, as a German, as a dad, I feel nothing from the government trying to make us fuck more, to make Germans fuck more. I don't really see much they're doing here to help us.
Your employment.
It's like, I just talked to Lisa about this yesterday. We're now planning a second kid. I now can fuck without a condom. High five, guys. High five. But that kid is gonna be financial strain, man. It's not gonna be so easy. It's pretty serious stuff, right? The shit is very, very serious.
Cannot grow much. So that will be a very...
What are your favorite immigrants? My favorite immigrants are the ones... That's a deep question, man. You're trying to catch me? TommyKay's favorite immigrants are immigrants that are respecting the German rule of law. They're my favorites. And most of them actually do that.
Very big drag on growth.
There is a lot of entrepreneurship happening. For example, last year we had a massive rise in startups, new applications. So I guess when it comes to the spirit of creating companies...
I just read an article. I always read articles. There was a big summer day last week and people died. People always die on hot days. And there was this article that talks about, and this is sad. I'm obviously not celebrating this. This is a sad thing. Most infant deaths of under 18-year-olds drowning on big summer days, like in lakes or Freibad. Swimming pools, public swimming pools, are immigrant kids. Why? Because two things. They don't learn swimming in Syria, and they come to Germany, they don't learn swimming. And secondly, these immigrants, Syrians and stuff, they have this culture where there are a lot of people. There's like 20 people going to the swimming pool. And if like a kid goes swimming, no one pays attention because they're so busy, there's so much going on, nobody looks at them. And yeah, immigrants are much more likely, immigrant children are much more likely to drown on hot days than German children, man.
Of putting ideas into work or certain economic models, there is a good momentum in cities like Berlin, Munich.
I think it is really reforms in the area, like, for example, improving the business
I love all the immigrants, man. The food they bring is amazing.
Cuts to bureaucracy, big investments.
I haven't been to a public pool in probably 15 years.
Digital infrastructure. Progress probably also in things like the capital market union, also reducing trade barriers within Europe, so improving the single market. All of these measures that would improve the general business environments and make it more likely that new successful firms in areas that...
Some funds for the next baby.
Thank you, man. I feel like a large amount of the issues with the lack of new children being born has to do with a culture developing of just hooking up with others and never finding a partner. I disagree. I will disagree with you in this way that, yes, I will think the world is complex. And an issue, let's have an issue. Like, we're taking an issue. I'm Pirate Software now. Hey, guys, I'm a bit of a fucking idiot. Issue, not enough children. And now we ask ourselves, why is that an issue? I think you have a point. It's part of like this social media shit, right? Like online dating, maybe a part. I would think though, the biggest part why Germans, Europeans, Americans, Canadians, whatever the fuck, why they don't make more kids is financial reasons. Capitalism. Can't afford it, man. It costs too much. I don't make enough money. I can't even pay the fucking house, right? That has to be the main fucking issue, man.
I have a prospect of having growing demand in the future can emerge.
We have to be more open towards innovation and more risk-prone.
The richer you are, the less kids you get. Even the more educated you are, the less kids you get.
But that is important now in order to keep the pace of the world that is going. We have to make the economic environment more attractive, decreasing tax for corporations and reducing labor costs.
Sorry.
So that is what the new government
obviously it's not fault, so you're dumb.
Anything that gets older workers to work longer.
How do you want to replace capitalism? Never even said that. Never said that. Never said that. What I hear and read and saw is that in a fictional world, that will probably never happen, a solution to make all of this a bit better will be to inject the ocean of capitalism with drops of socialism. Once again, socialism makes certain 12-year-old kids in chat think, oh, Stalin, red, communism. No. Socialist ideas in its core are the rich have to pay their taxes, man, minimum wage, the general universal income, pushing of unions, helping the 99%. Policies and things that help 9%. We just talked about this. A big suggestion certain people in Germany have.
Ronaldo, I'm gonna snap.
For example, is in Germany, lawyers, they pay their own health insurance. I pay into a rich people health insurance. I have like a health insurance for rich people. Doctors pay their own health insurance. The public health insurance sector is fucking getting crushed. 2 days ago, they raised it by 0.5%. Nobody can find a fucking appointment. Normal people with the normal health insurance, AOK in Germany, can't keep up. So one idea is you still have capitalism. You can't fuck with it. It's too rooted. But you do a thing where everyone pays into the same fucking health insurance. You fucking do rent breaks, man. You don't let these capitalists, these owners, raise the rent above 15% of the average, man. You don't allow them to keep their fucking. This is socialism or maybe communism, where a government would intervene with freedom of the market, where a government says, hey, man, you are having an apartment in Berlin that you're not allowing anyone in because you want it as a tax write-off. We need space in Berlin. You are deliberately leaving this apartment empty because you want to get tax breaks from it. This is ridiculous behavior, and now you're getting no, we're not letting you do this anymore. So that would be. I'm never ever, don't ever say this about me, I'm never like a retard. I always try to be a bit intelligent here. I fail a lot, but I will never be like capitalism is bad and we need to fucking destroy it. And no, obviously not. It's way too rooted. Capitalism brought a lot of greatness to the human race, man. 100%. You would have to reform and change capitalism. I hate these idiots that when you discuss with them, they're like, but capitalism is the best we have, so just shut up now. Like, what kind of argument is that? What are you, 12? Anyway.
It gets more women into the workforce, anything that incentivizes immigration, all of those things.
But if I look at planet Earth right now, I don't see that happening. Capitalism getting more social. No, capitalism is each getting more hardcore now, right?
That would be
oligarchy in USA and stuff.
A big positive.
The gap between rich and poor is growing and growing and growing.
We have to kind of be open for taking more risks. When it comes to infrastructure, the next decade will be the decade of infrastructure investments in bridges, in energy infrastructure, in storage.
I don't fully understand. If you invest in a bridge, how is there a turn back? What's the dividend? It's just the government takes taxpayer money and fixes a bridge. Boom. The investment is probably you give the building company a mission and they pay taxes and stuff.
In maritime infrastructure,
faster logistics and stuff.
And for this, we need speed. We need speed and investments, and we need.
But the bridge is already there. They're just fixing it.
Private
building
capital.
New bridges.
There's a lot of hope on the new government, but of course.
Why Americans don't want kids? Financial reasons. I like the guy who said earlier, this is wrong. Age, no partner, 10%. Wow. Medical reasons.
First, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. What they all do with that gigantic fiscal package.
Germany has rebuilt before, from post-war devastation,
you were good at
from
rebuilding,
Cold War division, from the crash of 2008. But this time, it isn't rebuilding from rubble, but from rigidity. So the question now isn't just whether Germany can grow again,
no partner.
but whether it can change fast enough to lead in a very different world.
I feel like this video yapped a lot. I feel like I still have some news left in me. I'm kind of really liking this one now.
She slipped through my fingers like sand. Heard that she had a man. Now I'm just sitting here sad. Oh well, ship sail. She slipped through my fingers like sand.